Hey, Meghann Scully, and this is the Limerick Post Show. And joining me now, it's Enda AKA Delush. How are you keeping?
I'm really well. I just got home yesterday, so I'm really looking forward to a nice Christmas break.
Yes, you're one of the lucky ones. You're Berlin based, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm Berlin based, but I work really a lot in Ireland.
Mm.
So I'm back for the next 2 months, and yeah, I took a lot of trips back in the last years. But yeah, 2/3 of the time I'm based in Berlin, I'd say.
Amazing. Well, I know from speaking to many artists that Berlin, I say not Brazil, has a great amount of like Irish artists over there, and it seems like a really creative place.
Yeah, it's actually amazing. It's like in some ways I think we could learn a lot from that city, in terms of like they've managed to kind of keep it affordable, even though so many people want to live there. It's still of course getting more expensive, but just being able to actually live and maybe have a studio space is a huge factor when you're an artist. And yeah, just the fact that there's so many artists from so many different places in the world
Mm.
all doing different creative things is just amazing for inspiration and for mixing influences and stuff. So I love it. It's very free, and yeah, it's a great place to express yourself.
I know everyone has said that actually about the cost of living. I've read some articles and listened to some podcasts about it, and like sometimes I hear people talking about it, and I'm like, oh my god, it almost seems too good to be true. Like to be such a really cool,
Mm.
vibrant place, but also still, as you said, the costs are low, and I'm sure, as you said, they're rising because of popularity.
Yeah.
But it does seem like a bit of a hidden gem that's maybe being discovered now by more and more people.
Yeah, that's probably fair to say. Like, so when, it would have been in the unique position of like people think of when they think of East Germany and West Germany, and they know that Berlin, was this kind of scene where East and West were kind of being played out. But what I kind of thought was like, oh, it must have been that the West and the East started and ended at Berlin.
Mhm.
But actually, it's like West Germany is completely hundreds of miles away.
Okay.
And for political reasons, part of Berlin was split into West Germany. And
Okay.
so the entire surrounding is East Germany.
Ah, okay. That's really interesting.
And that's why there was a wall, but it was this little walled in island of a city. And
Mm.
there was only three highways, and you couldn't stop on these highways to get to the rest of West Germany. Like you could be shot or something, because you're in a different country, even though you're like outside this highway. So super strange. So when the wall came down, you had this really interesting situation where it was still, the capital of Germany, but everything around it was like East Germany. So the prices of everything was like nothing. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Okay.
and so that's why then Berlin in the 90s had such a crazy reputation, because there were so many abandoned buildings.
Mm.
People were squatting in places, setting up new communities, experimenting with new kind of like housing concepts where like 100 people live together and have like a community. You know what I mean? And there was also raves in empty buildings, and like people were really bursting out of the sort of restrictions of what they had just faced. You know what I mean? And so it is catching up. It's probably the cheapest capital city in Europe still, but yeah, it's now they really have to work to keep down the rents. They really go hard with the laws on how much you can sort of increase the rent and stuff like that. So, but they've been really really proactive. So at least it's gotten it's gotten expensive, but not as fast as like a lot of other places. So
That's good to
yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I'm sure you get some shock when you come home. Now, speaking of home, you did say you go back to Ireland quite a lot for work, and you've worked with one of our own, Jordan Kelly, aka Strange Boy. He's a Limerick rapper. So tell me how you came about to work with him.
So I wrote this song back at the end of 2016, called "It's All Right," and then I was working on producing that in 2017, and I had this kind of long jazzy solo part in it, and I just had this intuition of like I'd really love to get an Irish rapper on this track. It was just kind of like an impulse that I had, and so I decided to start really looking through all of the rappers, that I could find at that time. Asked all my friends who were in the music scene and put together a big list, and I went through each and every one of them, and the only person I contacted was Strange Boy. Like I just when I came across like the way he delivers words, his way of writing, his way of like you know rapping, I was just like, I think it's definitely him. You know what I mean? So I just wrote to him and I was like, hey, do you want to be on this track? And he was like, I've actually always wanted to be on a track like this.
Ah,
So let's do it. And anybody who knows Strange Boy will know he's not on his phone all the time, so it's not so easy to get in contact with him actually. So I had this kind of like period of like wondering if the session was actually going to go ahead just a few days before. And then I got this text the night before that everything was good to go. So I was like, okay, perfect. So I went to UL, like that, like that's actually where I started doing music. Quite a while ago. I did music technology masters in UL. So a friend of mine just happens to be working there, and he was like, hey, I can hook you up with a studio, so you can just drive out to us. And so I drove down. I was staying in Clare for a little while, where my parents are both from, and I picked up Strange Boy, and that was us meeting for the first time. And we drove to UL, and we did his rap part, and it was absolutely amazing. And yeah, we did a little interview with him as well, because I had some video friends with me. And then I was just thinking, like, it felt so right and so good that I was like, okay, I can see myself working a lot more with this guy. He's a really special artist, very unique, with a huge amount of potential. Definitely, like, can use some guidance on how to fulfill all that potential. And I was just really attracted to work on it, and it happened kind of slowly and organically. We did this track. It actually took quite a while to release this track, because we were kind of going to wait until we had some more songs lined up for him and more of a vision for him. And so it was released maybe, I think, like a year and a half later, because we then did a music video and everything for it, and then we released it. And then it had a great reception when it was released, and it ended up on Normal People and everything. So just
Amazing.
from that first 2 hours of meeting, we had finished a track together it's been played on the BBC. It's been played like in different radio stations around the UK. Yeah, it's been in Normal People. um it ended up on the some of the best track lists in Ireland that year, from Irish bloggers and stuff like that. So it's having a life of its own, and it's kind of just beginning. So yeah, that was the start of it. And here we are.
That's amazing. I think, and Normal People as well, it was great because they gave so many Irish artists such a boost by putting them onto the soundtrack. And I think nobody expected Normal People to go worldwide the way it did. And it has just become
Mm.
this like phenomena now that everyone's obsessed with. Like even the
Yeah,
Kardashians are clearing it. So it's like, everyone involved in Normal People, if anything at all, if anyone, I think even the people who were extras in it, everyone got
yeah,
so lift. So it was so amazing to see something so Irish be just blasted across the world.
yeah. I think that's the great thing about, like, there's many different ways to help people. And I think sometimes you have conversations with people where they say, like, people who are doing arts are actually kind of in a way a bit selfish,
Mhm.
because they're focusing so much on themselves and their work. You know what I mean? It can sometimes be difficult to be in relationships with them for that reason. But in another way, when some people manage to create something super inspiring, it really, as you say, gives everybody a lift, and it's something everybody can enjoy, and it's like everybody then feels proud to be a part of it. You know what I mean? And so I think they've done a wonderful job, doing something really, really, really moving, really moving, and it's touched like so many people around the world. So it's just, yeah, it's something to be really proud of. It's really, really great.
No, it's amazing. Now, of course, you mentioned you did your masters in UL, so we have to ask, like, where was it you used to socialize when you were in UL?
Oh, definitely went to Costello's quite a lot.
Still going? Still, well, not go. Obviously, with COVID, not going is in the Costellos that we all know and love. But yeah, Costellos is still here.
Costello's still going, yeah. And then, there's just the student bars and stuff in UL.
They were great.
Yeah, it was good. Like, UL was great. Like, I think it's like one of those things. Like, I was lucky enough to be able to go to university like a couple of different times. I finished school super young when I was like 17, and I was doing one thing, and I was just too young, kind of thing, to understand what I wanted to do or to really enjoy the experience. And so when I came back and I was actually consciously choosing what I wanted to do, it was a totally different experience. And I absolutely loved it. Like, it's really hard work, because I was kind of catching up on a lot of things that I didn't know. But at the same time, I just loved the fact that I could study something that I really enjoyed and I was really passionate about. And UL is just a great university. Like, it's just wonderful. It's just like, had a swimming pool and like the people are super nice.
Oh,
It's
great. And
really,
I just
really
think like,
clean.
it's like the
Very,
sport campus. It's got the creative side. It's got the music. It's got the dance. It's got the campus alone is just
mm,
amazing. And
amazing.
I'm always trying to encourage people to go to UL because like I went there
Yeah.
myself for my undergrad and I'm like, it's got everything. It's got everything you need and more.
it's really amazing. And it's, you know, it's also like, compared to like, you know, living in Dublin where I was for my first degree, it's like I can sometimes not believe it now that I could afford that then, or like that I somehow made that work, because it's crazy. You know what I mean? Like if you want to go to a Dublin university, how much you have to pay is pretty like, yeah, it's just crazy. So at least it makes it a bit more affordable as well. But it's amazing, man. The culture, sports, music, you know, it's great city to go out in, you know. And it's, yeah, super fun, super fun. It's very rainy though. What's with that, you know?
I know. Well, that's the problem when you come from the west of Ireland. It's like
There
people
you
are
go.
like, "Oh, it's raining again." I'm like, "But it's been like this all our lives. It's just
Yeah, it
we're
rains
never
like
used
every
to it.
day.
We're never used to it. Don't have rain jackets. Don't have umbrellas, and then we complain about it raining all the time."
Yeah, I'm from Kildare, but went to like university and primary school and stuff in Dublin. But like it's just funny that you don't expect it to rain a lot more than just like 2 hours away. You know what I mean? But it does. Like it really rains like so much. There you go.
No, I know, and Josh, we wouldn't change it. Enda AKA Delush, it's an absolute pleasure chatting to you, learning more about yourself and of course your work with Strange Boy as well. And I look forward to hearing more from you. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Thank you so much for the chat.